Spotted-winged Drosophila, or SWD, is a little fruit fly, not unlike what you would find in your kitchen when you have banana peels or other items in your compost. The difference is this fruit fly has a saw-like egg-laying appendage that lets it puncture intact ripe fruit and lay an egg in it. It can't get into very thick-skinned fruits like apples or even softer fruits that have a tougher skin like a tomato, but it really gets going on raspberries and blueberries and fruits like that. So the crops of greatest concern are fall raspberries, because SWD tends to build up throughout the season, the late maturing blueberries, and things like peaches and cherries, which we don't have that much of in Vermont, but some people do grow them. We don't want to scare anybody about this new pest, but we do want you to be informed about what cultural practices can be effective in protecting your fruit crops against it. Just like other insect pests that growers and gardeners have managed for many years, it takes attention to detail and knowing the life cycle of these organisms, but it is possible to grow the vulnerable fruits in Vermont, and we're going to get even better at managing this pest as time goes on. This is a roll of insect netting. Many growers and gardeners are familiar with something called floating row covers, which has been used to protect crops against insects and also to create a warmer, more humid growing environment. You can use a floating row cover over your vulnerable crops, but insect netting is a little different in that it's somewhat more durable, and it's specifically designed with a small mesh to keep the pests out. In the case of spotted-winged Drosophila, the mesh has to be smaller than 1 millimeter squared. So make sure and get the specifications of any material before you buy it so that it really will exclude the pest. Obviously, it has to go on before the fruits start to ripen and the pest is attracted to the crop. You don't want to put it on any earlier because you want to have pollinators get access to the flowers so that you'll get fruit, but delaying after fruit starts to ripen runs the risk of having the pest already in there laying eggs. Take, for example, these blueberries right here. They're still immature. They're green. There's nothing ripening, so there's no risk of infestation yet from SWD. It's only once they first start to ripen that you want to get the netting on, and after harvest, you want to take the netting off as soon as possible so it doesn't photodegrade and it'll last many years. As soon as any berries start to ripen, the netting should be on to prevent the spotted-winged Drosophila from attacking fruit. When you put the netting up, it's important to make sure that all of the edges and the entranceway are sealed, because any little opening will allow the pest to go in and defeat the purpose of having the net. If you have a structure that's been used for bird netting, for example, it may be suitable for hanging up the insect netting. And in fact, if you haven't had bird netting, you may get double duty out of the insect netting by also keeping the birds off. So although it's an expensive investment up front, if you take care of the netting and it lasts many years, you'll be paid back in a lot of sound fruit that would have otherwise been lost. The design of traps for spotted-winged Drosophila has been evolving very fast as researchers learn more about how to capture this pest and what it's attracted to. This is the current trap design that extension folks in New England are using to trap for spotted-winged Drosophila. Sometimes trapping is done just to monitor the population, but it's possible that using enough traps, perhaps one in every blueberry bush or every other, or one every 20 or 30 feet, we don't know yet, it could be possible to actually trap out the spotted-winged Drosophila and reduce the damage to the fruit. These traps are something that anybody can make because they use readily available materials like plastic red cups from the supermarket and black electrical tape from the hardware store, as well as wire and another little cup that's used often for dressings at delis and things like that. The idea here is that the pest is attracted to this black on red combination. And by drilling 1/8 inch holes, you allow this small insect to get in while keeping larger pests out, or larger bugs that may be attracted to the bait. The bait, in this case, is a little solution that's fermenting. So it's made from a combination of whole wheat flour, water, sugar, and yeast. So it's the yeast odors that really attract the pest, but you have to give it something to live on, and so it continues to give off odors. By putting it in a little cup like this that's had a hole cut out of the top and screen mesh put in, the pest can't actually get into the bait, so the bait stays uncontaminated and continues to ferment well, and the pest is then attracted to the second part of the bait, which is a drowning solution. So inside the cup, about an inch or so in the bottom, you would place a mixture of inexpensive red wine and apple cider vinegar, roughly 50-50. That goes in. It's also attractive to the spotted-winged Drosophila, but not as much as the yeast, so the combination together is a very powerful bait. By putting the little cup inside the big cup and then sealing it up so rainwater doesn't get in and fouling it, and hanging it in the bush near the fruit, preferably in a shady spot, because when it's in the sunshine the bugs don't tend to go to it as much. This is one way to try and reduce the amount of spotted-winged Drosophila that attack your fruit. This is definitely a challenging pest, but a lot of extension and research personnel are working on ways to manage it so that commercial growers and homeowners can continue to have an abundance of blueberries, raspberries, and other soft fruits. For UVM Extension, this is Vern Grubinger.